Welcome back, Curious. We all have that one thing in our lives that we are so used to that once it disappears, it's incredibly weird. It could be a routine we've done for years that we've now stopped, or seeing the same people or sight. And then, once it's gone, there is this weird void and a strange feeling. Now, I'm saying this because this is exactly what happened with the Kardashian-Jenner gang. Their show has just constantly been with us for so long that we can't imagine our lives without it. First, it was Kourtney who decided to leave, but now it seems that the rest of her family are following her suit. Could it be that the absence of the eldest of the sisters was a determining factor for the rest of the family to say goodbye after more than a decade of being on our television screens? Or could it be another one of their many advertisement strategies? You know what? Why don't you stay with me to find out? But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. Yes, Curious, I know for many of you this is very difficult news to come to terms with and that you might still be shocked by it, but it seems that this time it is very serious. The Kardashian-Jenners will be going off air, and so serious is the matter that everyone is reporting on it. But before we get into what the members of the media family have shared on their official accounts, let us look back at the show and talk about other occasions when other stuff was also a false alarm. The talks about ending the show were already around for like 4 years ago, when back in 2016, when there were talks if there would be the 13th season, that the sisters were starting to put out the possibility of suspending the reality show. However, Mommy Kris stepped in, and if she knows anything, and when it comes to business and finances, that is a lot. She knew that had they done that, millions of dollars would be lost, so it was for the reason that she made the decision to stretch the show out a little while longer. But despite being able to save the show at the time, there were two members who had always shown their intentions of leaving it once and for all, and never let anyone change their mind. Of course, we're talking about the youngest of the family, Kylie, and the oldest, Kourtney. And the last one was serious, but we'll get into that in a moment. Some time later, there were once again rumors that the definitive end was more than imminent, but despite the fact that the 16th season of the program had reached 2.3 million viewers, making it one of the most watched one in the last 3 ones. But neither all the success nor all the millions in the world would stop the end. What had begun with Kim's friendship with the fashionable socialite Paris Hilton, followed by the famous adult videos, which we're not going to talk about anymore, but basically the point is that the thing that started with those two events has come to an end. Although, of course, if it is a question of fame and money, it is never enough. But back to 2016, just as the grand finale was approaching, audience levels began to rise. That's when Kris, being the business genius that she is, saw the light at the end of the tunnel and decided that the show would stay on for a few more seasons. One person who was not happy with the news was the firstborn Kourtney, but it seems that Kris found a way to convince her, or perhaps I should say found the appropriate number of zeros. And sure, it was worth it, at least in principle, since at the moment the eldest of the clan can boast over 100 million followers on Instagram, as well as having several $1 million at her disposal and a flourishing business. But as we know, even all that wasn't enough to make her stay on the show. Speaking specifically of her, when the reality family reality show started, Kourtney was in her prime of her youth at the age of 28. Even then, she had a relationship with the now father of her children, Scott Disick, and for that reason, and many others, after a decade of being in the spotlight, she was already feeling tired and wanted her children, Mason, Penelope, and Rain, to have more privacy. She had thought about it before, confessing that she would be more than happy for the show to end once and for all. Well, she was so convinced that that was what she wanted, and that she was even willing to get out of the country to get away from the cameras for good and start a new life where no one knew her. But as I said, Mrs. Kris's offer was surely quite juicy as she decided to hold out a little longer. However, the final straw broke in the 18th season, with the new scandals, fights, and dramas all at once. And if we're talking about fights, you probably remember the last one that started out of a simple innocent chat between sisters and then turned into a kind of pointing war between Kim and Kendall, and then it provoked Kourtney's intervention and finally ended in pushes, slaps, scratches, and even ninja kicks. So considering all that background plus the media pressure after her separation and constant criticism of the way she was raising her children, Kourtney ended up blowing up and finally deciding to leave the program forever. or well, at least limit her appearances on it. She was the one who announced that she was choosing to allow only those aspects of her life to be shown that she considered interesting and relevant to the public to be recorded, but ones that did not pose a threat to her and her family's relationship with each other. If you want a refresher about exactly what happened to all of this, click on the link above to check out our previous video. Shortly after that, we learned that Kourtney's decision could not have been a better one because a few weeks after the news of her exit, Vogue Arabia magazine published an interview with the famous sister in its July and August issue, and the oldest member of the family appeared on the cover. After the photo shoot, she spoke openly about her decision. Her words were clear and definite. "I have been filming the program non-stop for 13 years, 19 seasons and 6 spin-offs. I simply felt dissatisfied to the extent that it became a toxic environment that prevented me from dealing with my personal life properly." But just as the rumors began to circulate that Kourtney's departure was nothing more than a supposedly fake tantrum to win back the audience that the show had been losing for quite some time, and that it was only a matter of time before she was back, a couple of days ago we learned that it wasn't the case. And just like that, the time that we somehow misplaced our AirPods, the Kardashian Jenners will be gone for good from our lives. Okay, maybe not lives, but at least our television screens. Or rather, they will be once the 20th season will finish, and that will reportedly air sometime in 2021. And the reason we say that this time the thing is 100% sure is that despite the previous rumors, there had actually not been any official communication from any of the members, much less from the most important of them, the mother of the girls, Kris Jenner. And yes, you heard it right, curious, on this occasion, even the momagger announced the end of the whole era. But she wasn't the only one. In fact, the first to make it official on her social networks was Khloe, who issued a statement saying, "It is with heavy hearts that we say goodbye to keeping up with the Kardashians. After what will be 14 years, 20 seasons, hundreds of episodes, and several spin-off shows, we decided as a family to end this very special journey. We are beyond grateful to all of you who have watched us for all of these years, through the good times, the bad times, the happiness, the tears, and the many relationships and children. We'll forever cherish the wonderful memories and countless people we've met along the way. Thank you to the thousands of individuals and the businesses that we have been a part of in this experience, and most importantly, a very special thank you to Ryan Seacrest for believing in us, and E for being our partner, and our production team at Bun & Murray, who've spent countless hours documenting our lives. Our last season will air early next year in 2021. I know, curious, I also got a little dust in my eye. Well, now I must be strong. The statement was signed by Kris, Kourtney, Kim, Khloe, Rob, Kendall, Kylie, and Scott Disick. But although their names were included in the letter, not all of them shared the news, at least not until we last checked. Those that did were Kim and, as we said it, the person responsible for making it all possible. Of course, we're talking about Kris. And we say this not only because she was the one who gave life to the entire Kardashian-Jenner dynasty, but because she and her business genius were the keys to the success of the program during the 14 years it will have lasted once it comes to an end. She was the one who added the following message to the one already published by Khloe. "We are so beyond grateful to everyone who has watched and supported our family these past 14 incredible years. We will forever be in debt to everyone who played a role in shaping our careers and changing our lives forever. Thank you for joining us on this crazy ride. We love you all, Kris." And so ends a story that began back in 2007, the year in which the first episode of the reality show was broadcast, when the youngest of the family, Kendall and Kylie, were only 11 and 10 years old respectively. Mrs. West of today was only known for her constant partying with her best friend, Paris Hilton. And yes, that one little video they say that exists of her doing things that only mommies and daddies who love each other very much do. The one known today as Caitlyn Jenner, at the time the former Olympic athlete Bruce Jenner, and none of the little ones of the family, Mrs. Jenner's 10 grandchildren, existed even in the thoughts of their parents. And not to mention that at the time, no one, except perhaps Kris, could imagine the media empire that together as a family they would go on to create. Geez, curious, I don't know about you, but even now as I'm telling you this, I still find it hard to believe that it's really happening. But as they say, everything that goes up must at some point come down, and even so, keeping up with the Kardashians, one of the most profitable, successful, and popular franchises of all time, turns out had an expiration date. But don't get me wrong, knowing them, I'm sure they already have an ace up their sleeve to stay current and in touch with their hundreds of millions of fans across the entire world. What do you think, Curious? What were the determining reasons for their decision to end the program forever? Was Kourtney's departure one of them? And how likely are they to return to our television screens with some other projects? If you're feeling as nostalgic as I do, then why don't you click on the link above and check out the playlist that we have about the family. And also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I shall see you all tomorrow for another video.